Number one here that we have after this little investigation in the beginning, what you find out is that most cars, and if you ever buy a car you'll find this out, depreciate. So you buy a car brand new off the lot, it's $25,000 today. A year later, you'd be lucky if you get $20,000 for it because they go down pretty fast. But in this example, they're talking about a brand new Honda Civic, about $18,000. And it's going to lose 10% of its value each year. And so what we want to figure out is, first of all, what is the value after 2 years? And second of all, when is this car worth half of its initial value? And so if we write the explicit formula for this, it'll help us figure that out. And in this case, the explicit formula will be y equals, what's the starting value? 18,000. Parentheses, is it going up or down? Down. So I start with a 1, that's 100% of its value, and I take away 10% of its value all the time, or in other words, each year. And these are exponential graphs, so it's going to be to the x power. Now you could have wrote down 0.9, but one of the things I like about writing the minus sign in the parentheses is it helps you see what's going on. Caleb. Oh, I thought you had your hand. So now I go to my calculator, and we're going to use our calculators a lot for this section. So I go to my calculator, and I go into my y equals, and I'm going to clear out these things here. And in my y1, I'm going to type 18,000, because that's the starting value of my Honda Civic, parentheses, 1 minus 0.10 for the 10% I'm depreciating, and it's to the x power because we have an exponential graph and it's decaying, meaning it's going down. So let's say that you didn't do the Ask Auto like I did, and instead what you wanted to do is you wanted to go look and see in the table. So I go into my table set, and most of you will probably have auto. And most of you will probably have start at 1. So this is generally where most people have their table starting at and how it works. Auto. 1, 1, auto. And the question that they asked us was, what is the value after 2 years? So if I go into my table and look, this is the value after 2 years. $14,580. So that's the answer. $14,580. So I write that down. $14,580. Don't forget to put in the dollar sign in the commas because you're talking about money. This is when your x was equal to 2 years. So that's what's going on. Now, if you're doing the half-life, there are a couple ways you could do this. You could, number one, go look in your table and see that. Or, number two, you could say, I want to know when 9,000 is equal to 18,000. And then I'm just going to write down 0.9 this time, instead of 1 minus 0.10, to the x. And don't forget that the stuff on the left, over here, that goes into y2. And we already have the stuff on the right in y1. So I put that $9,000, which is half of the value of the car, into my y2. So 9,000. And then I have to pick an appropriate window. Now I could do zoom 6, but that would be kind of dumb because it only goes up to 10. And then what's the value of the car? 9,000, and where did it start? 18,000. So I need to see those values on the y-axis. So that'd be ridiculous for me to go to 10. So instead, knowing that, I'm going to go to my window, and Again, I don't know how many years this is going to take, but most cars don't last more than maybe 20 years, so I'm not going to go past 20 years. And I'm going to go up by a scale of 2 because I like 10%. And my Y value, I'm going to go up to 20 grand. What the craziness. And since I went up to 20 grand, I'm going to go with a scale of, nope, 2,000. Because that's 10% of 20,000. And then I'm going to go look at my graph, which you can see on the bottom bar thing, but I like to see it on the main screen. So here's my decay, because my value of my car is going down. And I'm trying to find out where they cross. So this is where we do second, trace, 5, enter, enter, and then I arrow over to where I think they're crossing and hit enter again. And what you see on the screen is your X value is the years that you think it's going to occur after. So 6.58 years. So this turns out to be 6.58 years. Now if I had to go to the nearest year, I would say 7. So after 7 years, I believe that my car is going to be worth half of its value. And if you ever read anything about buying cars or selling cars, they'll tell you that the best bang for your buck is when you're buying a car between 3 to 5 years of age. Because what happens is the amount of miles that are on the car, you probably still have a little bit of a warranty left, depending on the vehicle, and not as many things are going to break down, and the value of the car is still strong. So that's oftentimes what they say, whereas buying a new car, it depreciates so fast right away. You can see back from our picture what's happening in the graph, how fast it drops, and then it starts to slow down. Now me, on the other hand, I'm kind of frugal, so I wait to buy my cars usually until they're at least like 10, 20 years old. My last car that I just got done selling was a 22-year-old Volkswagen Golf. I bought it for 800 bucks. It was a Volkswagen Golf TDI. It was the rainbow colored one. I call it my Lego mobile. Yeah, and I sold it for 1,500. Yeah.
Thank you.
Knowing how much Jasmine loves me, and this is on video now, Jasmine, she's going to give me a diamond ring. And it's going to appreciate. What does that mean? Goes up 5% per year. And the initial value was 2,000. Thank you, Jasmine.
I'm not going to give you anything.
When your beloved gave it to you. So let's find the value after 5 years, and then how long before it's twice its value. So this is the same kind of question, but in reverse, because we're appreciating. So what I'm going to do first down here at the bottom is I'm going to write down what I think the equation is based on what they told me. So I have y equals, my starting value is 2,000. I start with 100% of the value, and I'm going up. So that's a positive 0.05, because that's 5, and it's to the x power. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this in my y1 and work with that to find out what happens after 5 years. So I go into my calculator, and in my y equals, I'm going to start with 2,000. And I'm going to go up. So that's a plus. To the x power. So 2,000, parentheses 1 plus 0.05, parentheses to the x power. And then I know, again, that I have to make my window seem right. So when I'm looking at my window, again, I don't know how much it's going to be. I'm just going to leave my 0 and 20. Who knows what's going to happen. But my y values now, instead of going to 20,000, I'm going to go up to, or I'm going to go from 0, and eventually I need to know when it doubles, because I read ahead a little bit. So I'm just going to go up to 5,000. And 10% of that would be 500. And I don't really need this right now for the question that was asked, because the question was, what happens after 5 years? So now I go look at 5 years in my table. And after 5 years, the value of the ring that Jasmine gave me is $2,552.56. So I'm going to write that down. $25.52.56. $25.52.56. And this is looking at number 5 in my table. Sorry? And then the next question talks about, okay, well, what about being twice its value? So twice its value would be $4,000. And we start out with $2,000. And we add an increase of 5%, so that's the 1.05 to the x power. We already have the right-hand side in y1. On the left-hand side, we'll put that in y2. And the same thing we've been doing pretty much all day today is second, trace, 5, enter, enter, arrow back and forth, and then hit enter. And see what your calculator tells you for where your value doubles. So I got to put that 4,000 into my calculator. So I go into my Y2 and I type in 4,000. And then I go second, trace, number 5. And then I do enter, enter, and then I arrow to where I think they're crossing, and I hit enter. And whatever the x value is, that's when it's going to occur. So roughly, bless you, 4.21 years, or sorry, 14.21 years. So I write down 14.21 years. And again, if I had to go to the nearest year, I would say probably just after 14 years.
No.